A boy tries to murder his father for regularly maltreating him and his mother. Elijah, scarred by years of abuse at the hands of his father, is filled with a burning desire for revenge. But as he meticulously plans his father's downfall, he uncovers a shocking secret that will change everything he thought he knew about his father and himself. What will he resort to when the line between justice and vengeance becomes blurred, forcing him to confront the darkest corners of his own heart and question the consequences of his actions? As Jaguar's boys offload the man they just kidnapped from the other side of the river, Boro is sitting opposite Jaguar, who is eating a wrap of swallow and soup. His old wristwatch is ticking furiously around his wrist. Jaguar proceeds to ask him if he minds the music playing in the background, and Boro doesn't reply. Hearing no answer from Boro, he proceeds to ask for his borrowed money from Boro, who replies that he needs more time. After bantering him, Jaguar gives Boro 2 more weeks, otherwise he will cut his head off. Boro leaves Jaguar's camp just as they are killing the kidnapped man, a warning that Jaguar will actually carry out his threat on him. Wari is running on the streets of the market with Elijah, running closely behind him. Elijah catches up with him and tries to tell him to stop pickpocketing. Wari warns him to mind his business before running off again. Soon, Wari has got a victim and has extracted his purse from her. But Elijah is there in time to warn the victim she had been pickpocketed. The woman holds Wari and embarrasses him in the market. Wari flees from her grip and chases Elijah. He locks Elijah by the waterside and is demanding an explanation as to why he dared betray him like that, when Denzel and Lydia appear behind him without notice. As he's talking and boasting carelessly, Denzel shuts him up. Wari asks who they are, and they reply that they are from Bossman. The name immediately sends chills to Wari. They tell him that Bossman had told everyone to step on all street operations, but he has refused, and for people like him, they will be the ones to deal with him and others. Wari tries pleading with them, but Lydia hushes and tells him to surrender all the things he has stolen. Wari hurriedly submits everything he has stolen, and Denzel tells him to run away. When Wari is gone, Denzel, Lydia, and Elijah congratulate themselves on a job well done. Denzel, Lydia, and Elijah make their way through the streets of the market until they reach Mama Fanta's shop. Osabere, Mama Fanta's daughter, jumps at the sight of Elijah. She asks Elijah a baggage of questions as to why he isn't in school and all. Elijah replies that he wouldn't be coming to school due to money issues. Osabere tells him he could meet Bossman to pay for him because he's the one paying her school fees, but Elijah shakes his head in reply. Denzel and Lydia are hailing Mama Fanta on the side, and Mama Fanta blushes in return, telling them to help them thank Bossman for paying her daughter's school fees. Denzel and Lydia brush it off, and Denzel signals Elijah it is time for them to leave. They're a few meters away from Mama Fanta's shop when they hear gunshots from the water side. Lydia runs to the water side with Denzel calling behind her to stop. Lydia is fast enough to see a boat speeding away. She quickly pulls out her gun and shoots at the boat until Denzel reaches her side and stops her. It is then they realize the dead body they dropped. It is Mr. Ima, and they know Jaguar has struck again. Without hesitation, Denzel, Lydia, and Elijah hurry to Bossman's house to see him. Lydia and the rest of the gang hunger for war. They say it is what Jaguar wants, and they should give it to him. Bossman ponders on their words before turning to ask a timid Elijah what he thinks. After some time and encouragement from Bossman, Elijah says he doesn't think they should go to war with Jaguar. They'll be playing in his hands and doing exactly what he wants. Bossman agrees and tells his gang there will be no war. He begs Denzel to help Lydia cool off before dispersing them. Elijah goes to his mother, Boma's shop, where she sells roasted plantain and fried fish. Boma welcomes him happily. He helps her attend to customers before she tells him to go and eat. She calls him after some time to come and read the lesson she prepared for him and before his father comes. Elijah tells her about what he heard in Bossman's house about Jaguar wanting war. Boma is curious as to where he's hearing all of this from Elijah, and Elijah says he heard it on the street as he was coming here. He gives her some money out of his pocket, and Boma's curiosity grows wilder. She asks him if he got his money from work, and he shakes his head and tells her he did something better than work. This shuts Boma up. Boma and Elijah finally get home after a long day at the shop. Elijah is annoyed his father still hasn't fixed their light and they have to use the lantern to read. Boma apologizes and tells him his father is a good man despite what he thinks. This talk makes Elijah snap at her. Is this why she's still with him even though he beats both of them? So she hopes he will change one day? Boma doesn't answer. Boro is at the beer parlor getting drunk while playing drought. His opponent beats him and jokes that he has finished his money on gambling again. Despite his borrowing, he still gambles. The man laughs and starts bantering Boro aggressively. Boro says nothing until the man requests that they use his old wristwatch to bet. Maybe he could win something this time. Boro politely refuses, and the man raises his voice at the back in a mention of Boro's family. Boro wants him not to mention his family, but the man doesn't stop. Soon, a fight breaks out between Boro and the man. They fight wildly until they are forcefully separated and Boro goes home. Boro goes home to Boma and Elijah, who are waiting for him to come back. Boma welcomes him him, but Elijah doesn't say anything. Boro angrily asks Elijah if he cannot greet him. Elijah doesn't say anything until Boma pokes him and he mutters a good evening. Boro continues his angry rant on how Elijah doesn't respect him and how he didn't come to his shop today. Boma leads him away with pleas to at least go and eat his food. Boro pushes the food set in front of him and asks if they have to eat the same thing every day. Boma tries to beg him, but he slaps her. Elijah rushes to get in between, but Boma pushes him away and he falls on the floor, spraining his wrist. Boro's violence is complete and he leaves the house. Elijah goes to Bossman's house to report his father. Bossman is shocked to see his hand and gives him some money to get it bandaged at the pharmacist. He also promises to talk to his father the next morning. Elijah spends the night and eats his breakfast at Bossman's house. After his hand has been bandaged for free by the pharmacist, he makes his way to the father's mechanic garage to assist him. Just when he and his father are about to get into another row about why he couldn't lift his toolbox for him, one of his creditors appears to ask Boro for his money. The man harasses Boro for his money and Boro pleads with the man for 2 more weeks. The man accepts and says he hopes Boro won't make him come back to his garage. As he is leaving, Bossman is coming in with a few of his boys. Boro doesn't look pleased to see him as he tries to ignore his presence and try to get something to do. Bossman asks him how Boma and Elijah are faring. Boro snaps and says, shouldn't he be the one asking him how Elijah is since he spends more time with him? Bossman raises his hand and says he only came to talk to him about the way he's treating his family. Boro retorts that it is best he minds his business and leaves his boy alone because he won't allow his son to be part of his talks. Bossman says then he should be a better husband to Boma and an actual father to his son so that his son can emulate. Boma wants Bossman to stay off his business, but Bossman adds that Boma deserves better. This is what sparks Boro and tells him to let it go. After all, she chose him. Boma is at home reminiscing of her life before she married Boro. She recalls how she got pregnant in her first year in the university and her father sent her out of his house. Boro comes back in to meet her lying down on the bed. He wants to touch her, but she pulls back and asks why she isn't at the shop. Boma replies that the makeup he put on her face is too good and she doesn't want to show people. Boro keeps quiet for a while until he sees a pregnancy strip on the table. He asks what it means and Boma casually mentions that she's pregnant. Boro gets furious and says she has to get rid of the pregnancy. Boma refuses and tells him they will find a way. After all, children are a blessing from God. Elijah meets Bossman at his house again to tell him he needs to kill Boro. Bossman is surprised by this and asks him why. Elijah replies that Boro needs to die before he kills him or his mother. Boro won't listen to anybody until he and his mother are dead. Bossman says he can't kill Boro because he had saved his life one time before he left the gangster life. Elijah continues to plead and Bossman finally says he will do it if he pays him a sum of 200,000 naira. He also adds that nobody must help him get this money. He must work it out himself. Boro goes to the beer parlor to think about his life. The words Bossman told him at the garage, the baby Boma is carrying and the money he owes Jaguar. He loses his appetite for drinking and goes home sober. The next morning, he approaches Boma slowly from behind and kisses her cheek. He wants to say something, but he doesn't and finally walks away. Boma is surprised by his attitude, but she smiles when he left. Elijah starts working menial jobs, anything to fetch him money to get his father killed. Osabere questions him as he fetches water in her mother's shop and he tells her he's saving money to save his mother and his baby brother or sister. She pressures him on what is really bothering his mother and her baby, and after making her swear with her brain not to tell anyone, he tells her about his plan to kill his father with Bossman's help. Boro on his own is trying to be a good husband. He visits Boma just when she's closing her shop. He tells her he closed early from his shop today so he could help her close at work and they could walk home together. If Boma is surprised, she doesn't show it. They're close to their house when they are waylaid by Jaguar's thugs, Gentle and Co. Gentle threatens Boro on behalf of Jaguar and adds he can't wait to kill Boro by himself to add his street credibility. Boro doesn't say anything and only watches Gentle say all his threats until he leaves. Boma is annoyed that Boro didn't tell her he borrowed money from Jaguar and he could borrow money from Jaguar of all people. Boro says he has no choice and that he used it in his garage. Boma asks how much it is and Boro replied it is 1.6 million naira. Boma screams. How are they going to raise that money in 2 weeks? Boro pleads with her to calm down, promising that they are going to find a way. Boro goes to see Bossman to borrow him the money, but Bossman insists he doesn't have much with him. Bossman tells him war is coming from Jaguar and he's saving all he has. Boro answers that it is none of his business and he would appreciate it if he kept his son out of it. Boma finally sells off his old car car that is barely working in his garage. He comes home early to prepare a meal for Boma and Elijah, but Elijah is not impressed. He wonders where his former father has gone. He leaves the house angrily, seeing his mother warm up to Boro like he hadn't hurt them before. Elijah hurries to Bossman's house to tell him he has 34,000 naira now. He will pay the rest as soon as he has it, but Boro needs to die now. Bossman insists he cannot kill Boro without the full payment, and that was the deal. Elijah sulks away to sit outside with Lydia. Boro continues to show his love and care to his family. He buys pizza home, but Elijah refuses to eat. Boma tries talking to him about how his father has changed, but Elijah retorts that he isn't her and he won't sell his soul for a piece of pizza. Boma gives Boro her savings of 30,000 naira to add to the money they are looking for. She knows it is small, but it is something. Boma thanks and hides the money, but his son's watchful eyes are on him as he hides the money. Boro comes home excitedly the next day. He tells Boma the story of how he wanted to go sell his old wristwatch so he could add money to it, only for him to realize it is worth 1.5 million naira and they even paid in dollars for it. Boma and Boro get excited that they have finally completed the money. The next morning, Boma forces Elijah to eat breakfast with them. He feigns a headache and apologizes that he won't be following his father to the garage today. Boro says it is fine and gives a sachet of Panadol to use. When everybody is out, Elijah makes his way to Bossman's house to tell him 200,000 naira is complete and he wants Boro killed. Meanwhile, Osabere can't keep her promise anymore. She goes to find Boma in her shop and tells her Elijah plans to kill Boro. Boma and Osabere quickly find their way to Bossman's house, and it is there they find Elijah with Bossman. Boma recognizes the dollars Elijah is handing to Bossman as the money Boro is supposed to be giving Jaguar now. Boma screams for Bossman to help her. Jaguar is obviously going to kill Boro for venturing into his camp without the full money. Hearing this, Elijah runs to the waterside to get on a boat to save Boro with the money in his hands. Bossman quickly calls his gang. The war they have been running from has come to them. They call Mama Fanta to come with them too. At Jaguar's camp, Boro is already being rough-handled for bringing incomplete money. Boro is still struggling to believe his money is incomplete when Jaguar offers that he joins his camp or loses life. They are arguing when Elijah shows up with the money in his hands, begging Jaguar to let his father go. Jaguar gets angry at the silliness and wonders who he should kill first among the two of them. Bossman and his gang step in and tell Jaguar to drop his gun and let Boro go. Jaguar refuses and Mama Fanta screams his name, Iworima. This infuriates Jaguar more as he warns them that his name is Jaguar, not Iworima. Mama Fanta continues to shout his name and there, Jaguar's gun goes off and he shoots Elijah. Bossman is quick to shoot him until he falls dead. Elijah wakes up in the hospital with Boma by his side. She sees he is awake and she quickly calls Boro to come in. Boro enters the hospital room and sits by Elijah's bed to apologize to him. He tells Elijah he loves him and his mother and the unborn baby and ends it by hugging all of them together. Osabere comes in too after their family time to apologize for revealing his secret.